loves? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Arai, and this is Rai's Reading Corner, and today we're going to be going over my best and worst books of 2023 so far.
But I'm right here, it's gonna be okay.
Again, hello, I'm Arai, and this is Rai's Reading Corner. If this is the first time you see my face or you've not hit the subscribe button, please do so. It's super easy and it really helps my channel grow. So as you can tell by my thumbnail and my little introduction, today we are filming my best and worst books so far in 2023. This is counting as my mid-year content. I am not going to be doing the mid-year tag, but I thought I wanted to talk to you about some of my favorite books so far and some of my most disappointing books so far. So I had to narrow down from the 62 books I've read so far down to my top 5. Now this does not necessarily mean that these are going to be the books that end up on the best at the end of the year, and I also am including some series, which I don't typically do at the end of the year content, but I am going to tell you which one is my favorite book out of this series, out of a couple of them that I have on this list. So you'll definitely see how much a wide variety my reading taste is. I have all different types of genres in my top 5, and I have all different types of genres in my bottom 5 as well. So without hesitation, let's get started with my 5 best books so far this year. All right, the first books I would like to talk about is part of a series. We're already hitting off strong, and this is the Chestnut Spring series. This is a small town romance by Elise Silver. So in this series, we have Flawless, which is the first book, Heartless, Powerless, and Reckless. This author has quickly become one of my favorite authors. I have now a shelf dedicated to her, and I'm trying to collect all the different editions as possible. I love a good small town romance. This series follows, it's a family focusing mostly on a group of brothers and their significant others, and in these books they all have different types of romance tropes. So even if one of these books maybe is not a trope that you're interested in, I would definitely give the other one a try. One of my favorite things about this series is that they all intertwine together. Some of the people that we have in one book is the sister of another book, and they all blend together, so you never absolutely leave these characters for good, which I really appreciate, because in these romancers you get so connected. The character building in these novels are so top tier, as well as the just development of having some serious issues dealt with. The romance is really paired very well together. So out of all 4 of these books, with the 5th one coming out, I think it's October, I have 2 favorites. One of my favorites in this one is Heartless. This is a single dad nanny age gap romance. There's about 13 years difference between our 2 characters. We have Cade and Willow, and she's kind of like the daredevil. She pushes him, she kind of gets him out of his comfort zone. Seeing him as a dad is absolutely amazing. He is head over heels, super dedicated to his child, which I really appreciate, and I love how spunky our main character is in this one. The next one is the one that just came out, is another one of my favorites, and this is Reckless. This is Theo and Winter stories. Now, some of this trope may not be for everyone, but I think it's done really well. It's a surprise pregnancy trope, and we have Winter and Theo talked about in the previous books. Winter is one of the sisters that is in the main character in one of the other ones, and there is a one-night stand and a pregnancy happens, and it is a surprise pregnancy, hidden pregnancy as well. Theo is kind of like that golden retriever. He's kind of the lady man. He is on in the rodeo, and he is like the hot shot. Seeing him become a dad was one of the best moments in this book, and Winter is kind of the grumpy sunshine character, and really seeing her come to terms with, you know, softening up and letting people in after being hurt so many times was really appreciated. Also, her talk about postpartum I thought was really spot on, since I'm dealing it with myself. So these 2 are my favorite, but like I said, this entire series is absolutely amazing, and I'll be really sad once the last book comes out in October. All right, the next one is another series. This is a 4-book series, and now we're switching genres to horror, and this is the Black Winter series by Darcy Coates. So this is a 4-book series. I binged these, I want to say, back in March, and this is a story about Claire, who is traveling to family amidst an emergency, and when she's driving, she sees abandoned children's toys on the side of the road. She sees abandoned cars. It's frigid cold, completely out of the norm temperature, and then all of a sudden she wakes up in a gothic style house with this man who is saying that he saved her. This man is a stranger. She does not know who he is, and he keeps telling her that they are the only ones in this house. However, she keeps hearing things, and she keeps maybe seeing some things that are amongst this blizzard that's going outside. She cannot leave anywhere. It is not safe. He will not let her go anywhere, and it is intense. So this is Voices in the Snow. We have Secrets in the Dark. We have Whispers in the Mist and Silence in the Shadows. My favorite one is the second book, Secrets in the Dark. I can't really tell obviously what this is about because then it would spoil the first book, but I really like this series. It does go into a very different direction than I anticipated in when I first read it. Darcy Coates books read so fast. There is a romance throughout this, so if you are a romance reader trying to get into the horror genre, I would suggest starting here because you are going to see some of that romance that you like in your other books. So this is definitely on my top 5, with the second one being my favorite of the series. The next one is probably going to be on a lot of people's top books at the end of the year, or if they're doing more of like a top 5 style type book or in their mid-year tag, is The Crown of Nyxia novels by Carissa Broadbent. I have fallen on the hype train of Carissa Broadbent. These are the duology, and it's Serpent, the Winged Knight, and The Ashes and the Stark-Cursed King. I cannot wait to meet her at a Polycon. If you're not familiar with this story, it's about a girl who is human but living in a vampire world. She was adopted by the Vampire King. She's not really well respected. She's seen obviously as prey, living among all these vampires, so she feels like she has to prove herself. So she enters into a bloodbath tournament fighting against the 3 other types of vampires. She has to align herself with a mortal enemy to her, and the 2 of them are obviously trying to survive this bloodbath. And these are fantasy romance, so you can obviously, you know, something's gonna happen in these stories. I absolutely love these. I had to pick which one, maybe the first one, just because you're kind of getting to know everything that's going on in the world, but honestly it would be really hard to pick between these 2 of which one is my favorite. All right, the next 2, or my last 2 for my best books, are standalones, and the first one is a dark romance that we're going to talk about, and this is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. I read this for Smut Den, and so I do have a full dedicated vlog to it. I will put it up in the cards above, but oh my gosh, this book was so dark. It was not what I was expecting. I knew it was dark going in, but not to the level, so definitely if you're interested in this one, check the trigger warnings before going into it because it is super intense and heartbreaking. This follows a girl named Cora who gets really drunk one night, forgets her wallet at a bar, and she has to go get it, and the only person that she can ask is her sister's fiance, who is her arch nemesis, Dean. Once they are at the bar, something happens and they are taken, and then they find themselves locked together in chains in a basement. This story, it's really hard to even talk about because it is so dark. It's hard to say that this book was good because the content in here is so emotional. It's so hard trying to find these dynamics of, you know, what's the relationship between her and Dean as they are trying to survive together, and the serial killer makes victims fall in love and then they are killed. So it's very painful, but I just cannot wait to read more of Jennifer Hartman's stories because if it's anything like this, she'll quickly become a favorite author. The last one I want to talk about, which is probably no surprise, it's going to be on a lot of people's top books of the year or mid-year, and this is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I have never fell in love so much with a book. This is my whole identity. This is fantasy romance, and it's about a girl named Violet. She was always supposed to enter the scribe quadrant when she reached, I think it was when they reached 18. However, her mother is the commander of the army, and her siblings have all joined the dragon quadrant, or the fighting quadrant, the army, and so she is told that she doesn't have a choice, she has to go too. And so she is put away and tasked away to enter the dragon quadrant. So she is smaller, and she also has a condition where her bones break really easily, and so she has lots of things stacked against her in this quadrant, which is a very violent quadrant to begin with, and pretty much everyone's out to get her because of who her mother is and the affiliation to the army, and let alone she has to bond with a dragon. And then pretty much the only way you leave this quadrant, this school, if you graduate or you're dead. And the death rate is very, very high, and she has so many things against her. So this is a fantasy romance. I just absolutely adored this book. I cannot wait till the next one to come out. And it is intense. It's a bloodbath. It is brutal. The smut scenes are perfection. It's just top tier. So good. All right, so I could talk about those books for on and on for tons and tons of time, but it's time we go to my most disappointing or worst books that I've read so far this year. So in preface, there's nothing absolutely wrong with these books. They're just not for me. They may have been something that I just don't like about them, or may just have been a letdown where I had really high expectations. Most of these books I do not have anymore. I mostly unhauled them, or I didn't have them to begin with, and I don't have too much to say about them, so let's get started. The first one is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I gave this one a 2.5 stars. It was fine. I just found it really kind of boring and kind of just predictable. I don't really enjoy it. To be honest with you, I don't remember much of the story, so I did unhaul it. I really struggle sometimes with finding thrillers that I like. I find that sometimes thrillers become more of mysteries, and I just want like an action-packed thriller. So if you have any recommendations, let me know down below. The next one that I would say was one of my most disappointing books of the year so far is Throttle by Lauren Asher. I gave this one a 2.5 stars. I read this for Steph's book club, the Literature Book Club, and this is a F1 romance story, and I just am not really into F1. I don't know much about it, and so I think that did impact my enjoyment in this story. It just wasn't for me. I had trouble connecting with the characters. I did find it quite boring. There was really nothing that happened. It was pretty just a mundane romance story, and I was really disappointed because I love indie romances. That's my sweet spot, but unfortunately this one did not do it for me, and I unhauled the book already. The next one is Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert. I don't know why I keep trying Katie Robert, because I struggle with enjoying her books because I really do enjoy the smut, and this one had really good polyrep in it, which I really appreciated. However, the plot was just missing. And if you've noticed that, I don't know much about these plot twists because they just don't stick in my mind because I did not really enjoy them. Smut was good with this one, polyrep was good, but the plot was not there. I need some sort of plot in my smut books to really be kind of that top tier romance story for me. The next one is Beneath the Hidden Stairs, I think it's called, by Jennifer Fawcett. This was a video project collaboration I did with a bunch of other booktubers that was created by Lexi. I do have a video, it's up above. I was recommended this book to read based off some other things that I've read before. Unfortunately, I did not like this book. I think I gave it like 2 stars, I think. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. I will, like I said, link the video up above. It was just, again, it was boring to me. I didn't find it really exciting, not really thrilling. It was super predictable, and it wasn't the thriller for me. Next one really hurts to put on here because the other book by this author that I read last year was actually on my top books of the year, and this is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. I gave this one 3 stars, a very low 3 stars. So it's not like a super low rating. However, it was super disappointing because Wedding Crasher is one of my favorite books of all time. The humor was great. The characters were fantastic. You felt super connected to the characters, and unfortunately that just wasn't here for me in this one. I really did enjoy the little bit of humor that was in there, kind of what reminded me of the second one. However, this one just didn't do it for me. I felt the characters were kind of flat, and I just didn't feel that connected to the characters like I did in the follow-up novel to this one. So unfortunately, it just did not do it for me. So these are my best and most disappointing books of the year. This could obviously change by the end of the year, but as of right now, this is kind of where I'm standing. So let me know down below what was your worst or best book of the year so far. I would love to chat with you about it in the comments. If you're not feeling very talkative and you want to leave an emoji, leave a dragon, because that 4th wing is sitting right here. So if you want to take this crazy and chaotic journey with me, please make sure you press the subscribe button. If you're my friend on any of my other social media platforms, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and I do have my own Patreon. All that information is linked down below. Stay kind, loves. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Close your eyes.